software industry has created a $5 trillion software industrial complex. And this is profiting off of inefficiency and waste. The dirty secret of enterprise software is that it takes so much custom code to run it. And so that's why these companies are hiring engineers. And the more custom code you put into these platforms, the larger the gravitational force that they actually have. They start sucking you into the platform. And eventually you cross this event horizon. If you want to stop using the platform, you want to stop feeding it more custom software to make it run your company, you basically risk bankruptcy. These guys with the better golf swings than you, the guys that are not playing fair, their greatest strength is that they don't play fair, but that's also their greatest weakness. So if you go down the list of Fortune 500 CEOs, you're starting to see an increasing trend where more and more of them are talking about software development, in particular enterprise software development. Now, AI is a promising tool to be able to replace these software developers in their organizations. You don't need to be a technical company to hire a bunch of programmers. Even companies like Nike or Macy's might hire a lot of programmers because they use enterprise software tools. And this is becoming a big trend with Y Combinator investors as well. They're starting to see that AI is a promising solution to the enterprise software problem, which is a really, really big industry. So these are called requests for startups. Y Combinator puts them out every batch or so. And you're starting to notice a lot more talking about enterprise software. This has happened 3 times already. I think they're going to put out probably 5 more because no one's really come up with a solution. And it is such a huge industry to develop. It's probably the biggest industry that AI can disrupt in the immediate future. The problem is it's only maybe 5% a software problem. 95% is actually a problem that maybe not a lot of people notice. And it's much more systemic and it's much more ingrained and cultural. That's industrial complex. The software industry has created a $5 trillion software industrial complex. And this is profiting off of inefficiency and waste. The thing is, it's growing 10 to 15% per year. This is referring to all of the software and services and internal teams that actually make companies operate, specifically tools like ERP or cloud or Office that actually make companies work. And it's growing quite a bit in terms of economic output, but most of that's not value creation. It's actually just waste. And so it's becoming bloated, it's becoming inefficient. It's starting to look like other industrial complexes. It's looking like big pharma and healthcare. It's looking like the military. It's starting to resemble industries that are very anti-competitive and are becoming increasingly bloated, that are adding more regulation, more compliance, more hoops, more legal paperwork to jump through. And it's not really value creation that's being added. It's actually something completely different. So there's a really big problem, and it's a societal problem. Now, there is a technical part of this. So in enterprise software in particular, they have an extra tool under their tool belt, which is dark matter. Y Combinator has coined this term, so I'm borrowing it from them. But basically, the dirty secret of enterprise software is that it takes so much custom code to run it. And so that's why these companies are hiring engineers. And the more custom code you put into these platforms, the larger the gravitational force that they actually have. They start sucking you into the platform. And eventually you cross this event horizon, which is basically a point of no return. Once you cross that point, if you want to stop using the platform, you want to stop feeding it more custom software to make it run your company, you basically risk bankruptcy. And so this is just one tool in the tool belt. It's one little small part of the problem. And yes, AI can help this to some extent. AI code generation is a very promising tool to make this work, but it's really only one piece of the puzzle. The broader concern is basically an industrial complex in general. So the military industrial complex we're all very familiar with. Congress feeds the DoD, they feed large corporations, and those large corporations then in turn feed Congress. So we're all very familiar with this. We know how it works. It's very old. It actually dates back to World War II. And we're noticing more and more that the inefficiency is only increasing, right? $150,000 overpaid for soap dispensers, $8,000 paid for coffee makers. And overall, it's creating more and more waste in the economy. And it's a very old problem. This predates back to World War II. We needed this because everyone from housewives to automakers all needed to mobilize and quickly create an industry that was going to help with a national and global security emergency. So it makes sense why this started and why it had to grow so big. But then it became too big to fail because we all started relying on it. You see, if there was no customer, like no major world war, we still had to feed it with something. And so we started feeding it with tax dollars. The reason we did that is because if we didn't do that, it'd actually be a bigger problem. It'd cause massive unemployment. It would cause massive insolvency and bankruptcies. it would start affecting the financial system. It would ripple across the economy, and it would put us back into the Great Depression, which the military-industrial complex, for how inefficient and how many problems it's causing, it actually is the thing that brought us out of the Great Depression in the first place. So it makes sense why these things happen and how we got caught up in this in the first place. It's happening again in software. There's early signs of this, like long-term contracts and forced bundling of features, forced upgrades, audit pressure. There's lots and lots of anti-competitive practices that are going on in the software industry right now. But these are very early signs, and we haven't really crossed that event horizon yet. And yes, there's a technical part of this problem with AI code generation. We already covered that in another video about why AI code generation doesn't work in its current form. The good news to that is that that's actually a really, really easy problem. So problem number one, far and away the easier one, is tech. Is basically just boils down to contain the dark matter in boxes and black boxes. You just got to contain the stuff so it doesn't get out. So yeah, again, this is really simple. We use generative operating systems at my startup, Omega AI, to solve the technical problem. But it all just boils down to contain the dark matter. Don't use it as a weapon. Don't see it as a benefit or something to like help your bottom line, right? Just look at it as a problem. That's all it is. And like iterative improvements to Cursor and stuff, like they could probably get there too if they just made like a different framework that was built from the ground up to support AI development. I think you could probably do this with Cursor. There hasn't been a solution yet. Like OpenAI just bought Windsurf, and there's probably like a way they can make that work. But you know, again, the technical solution is not that big of a. It's not the big part of this, right? So if you're interested in generative operating systems, you want to know more about our company, what we do, just book a meeting with us. We could definitely walk you through it. But it is just eliminating that dark matter so that your software doesn't grow to a point where you get sucked into this gravitational void. That's all that is. And the interesting part about this is actually not the technical part of the problem anyway. It's the societal and cultural problem. This is so much bigger. This is waste. This is inflation. This is basically the way we react to these things is our incentive structures are based on like quarterly earnings and continuous revenue growth. We like stability. We don't want to remove the military industrial complex because it would create massive economic catastrophe. And in the same way, we do this in individual companies as well. There's a saying in software, nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM. And I'm sure in the military, there's also another saying, which is nobody ever got fired for hiring Boeing or Lockheed Martin or something like that. We just tend to naturally favor and reward stability. And these things tend to get inflated and bloated over time. There's really only one way to prevent that problem. And it's not just a software industry thing. It is just in life. You're always going to be going up against people that have better steak dinners and sharper knives and better golf swings than you. You're always going to be going up against people that use regulatory capture or use lawsuits or use other anti-competitive practices to try to compete with you. The solution is just don't play the game. Just remove walled gardens, connect with everybody, even your competition. Like open the doors directly to Hell's Kitchen and just come with a fire hose. Just don't want to fight fire with fire. Fight fire with water. Actually try to dismantle their weapons. In software, it's dark matter. In healthcare, it's different things. But no matter what the industry is, the solution to industrial complexes is to try to increase value creation at a faster rate that they can increase their inflation and their bloat. Because we're all incentivized to favor growth and favor quarterly revenue growth. Basically, we want to make more money. But the value capture can't come from anti-competitive stuff. The value capture has to come from like real, genuine problem solving. It's the only way to get out of this mess and to not pollute society with more anti-competitive malpractice. So increase accessibility. Every BS tactic that these guys are using, do the exact opposite. You just can't play the game because it's a zero-sum game. And you have to beat the zero-sum game by playing a positive-sum game. Just don't play whatsoever. Just don't accept those rules and don't play into it. No long-term contracts, no upfront cost, no bundling, no upgrades, no auditing. If you're going to do value capture, only capture value that you create. So usage-based billing is great in the software world, but you can always do value-based billing. You can always do pay for performance. Just always adopt that billing strategy because you don't want to get you're put in a situation where you're the one who's actually contributing to the systemic problems in society. And you can, if you focus on this, the thing is, these guys with the better golf swings than you, the guys that are not playing fair, their greatest strength is that they don't play fair. but that's also their greatest weakness. They are so focused on value capture that they completely neglect value creation. They're only focused on creating more compliance, more auditing, more tactics. They're hiring MBAs and lawyers. They're not hiring engineers. They're not hiring technicians or whoever it is that is creating the value in that industry. They're only focused on capturing that value. So if you focus 100% on value creation, you can always outpace them. Because honestly, value capture is something that people are going to naturally resist and naturally avoid. But value creation, everybody wants that. So you can always beat them if you just don't play into their game. If this is interesting to you, if you want to learn more about basically playing positive sum games, if you don't want to associate with people playing negative sum games, or this is something that you're experiencing with, please reach out to the team, or just subscribe to our newsletter if you want to learn more. We talk a lot about generative operating systems and how they're going to solve the technical problem, but this is also just like a bigger societal problem, and it's going to happen in every single industry. And if you notice, every single company or every single industry is all falling victim to this problem of the software industrial complex. So if that's something that you think is affecting your company, please book a call, at least subscribe to our newsletter where you can learn more about all these concepts. Link in the description. Thank you very much.